The presence of the teachers of God is with us.
Share a few things with you about what was required of me to receive steps to knowledge. Steps to knowledge was the culmination of a 5-year process that necessitated tremendous change in my personal life. And my building the capacity to receive this powerful presence that I could only experience for moments at a time at the very beginning. And it would leave me rattled for days, even weeks afterwards, as if you've been shaken. Something has happened inside of you that has shaken your whole sense of yourself. So I had to build this capacity over time. Between 1985 and 1988, I was instructed to give presentations to groups of people, allow the presence and the voice to speak through me. I did this in several cities around the United States. And many of the discourses, most of the discourses in the first volume of the Wisdom book are the transcripts of these public presentations. And in these early teachings, there was a tremendous emphasis on knowledge and the role of the teachers in a person's life. And the mystery. It's very mysterious. At the time, I thought I was giving people in these audiences tremendous gift. And but in hindsight, I realized it was all for my training. And whether they were able to receive it or not was not that important. Then in 1988, with my wife Patricia and my 4-year-old son Reed, we packed up everything, left our very nice home in San Francisco, and headed out to look for another home, which landed us in upstate New York in a little house. And after being there for over a year, not doing any public work at all, I began to prepare to receive steps to knowledge. I knew it was coming because I had been told it was coming. But of course, the months pass and you forget it is coming. But it did arrive. And my ability to receive 49 of these steps in a day was the product of the very mysterious and at times very intense training I'd undertaken prior to that. Sometimes having to receive the presence for an entire day, non-stop, without falling apart or going mad. Some people think that contact of this nature is beatific and delightful and extremely pleasant. But when you read the stories of the prophets of the Old Testament, most of them describe contact as being absolutely terrifying, as if it was going to destroy them. And for me at the beginning it was rather terrifying. Not something that I think most people could really deal with. And during this time I also realized, before receiving the steps, that people wanted to use the idea of having teachers as a kind of welfare system, where their decisions would be made for them, their problems would be taken from them, their pathway would be made easy and sure, and that they would just go along for the ride. And yet the reality is so very different. So to understand one's relationship with teachers of this nature, you have to really reach a level of maturity and responsibility. They're going to challenge you, they're going to change your life, and they're going to make you reliant upon knowledge within yourself, because you do have to take responsibility for everything that happens as a result. So in light of that, I recommend that people not claim that they get a message, but to say, I deeply feel whatever it is that they want to share. And not say, well, I got a message. Because, first of all, they don't know if that message is really accurate. They really don't know where it comes from. And they're not taking responsibility for the fact that it is their communication. So I recommend that you not talk in this way, but instead to say, I feel, or I deeply feel this. This represents the true training in the way of knowledge. I remember hearing myself say on several occasions during this period around receiving steps to knowledge and before, I would say, I hope no one ever has to go through this. And in fact, that is not how people are going to be supported and assisted in reality. But for me, it was required. And when the day came for steps to begin, it was required. It was not for me. I was merely a platform for it to be communicated. It was not made easy for me, though I had some beautiful support with me. My wife Patricia, my son Reed, Darlene Mitchell, who took this journey across the country with me and who transcribed the steps. was actually a very difficult period of my life. Not knowing what it meant, what it was here to achieve, how it would be presented, how it would be published. So that's part of my story of Steps to Knowledge. And every time I open that book, I'm so moved by its beauty and its power. Because in receiving it, I had very little recollection of what was being said, particularly with such density of content. And it was like giving birth to a child. I would be responsible now to take care of this for the rest of my life, to protect it, to study it, to attempt to be a real student of it. It's like a child and a master all at once. And yet it has brought you all here. All of you. No person could ever write a book like this. And only those who study this deeply and perhaps repeatedly will know that to be true. Thank you, Ellen. One of the first students of the revelation right here.
Asha, you received such beauty, but at such a cost.
Well, yes.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We'll meet again tomorrow at the same time, and we hope you'll be with us then. It was very special having you in the room, and I could feel the rest of you far away with us as well. Thank you.